Welcome to Lead with Hope with Brandy Kelly, the podcast where we explore the power of hope, leadership, and resilience in today's world. Each week, we'll bring you stories, insights, and actionable advice from leaders, innovators, and change makers. So let's dive in and discover how you can lead with hope.
Today, my guest on the Lead with Hope podcast is Jacki Mjoen. Jacki is a 7th grade math teacher, a Teach Better team ambassador, an aspiring author, and a brain cancer fighter. Wow. Welcome to the podcast, Jacki.
Thank you so much for having me today.
Well, it is my pleasure. We met a while back through a mutual friend. Shout out to Darren Peppard.
Woo-hoo.
It was during a virtual meeting. And at that time, I heard a little bit about your story. And when I speak, I share a quote from Brene Brown. I love quotes and I love Brene Brown, so it's a good mix. But she says, owning our story and loving ourselves through that process is the bravest thing we will ever do. And so for that reason, I want to start out with your story. Tell us about who you are and a little bit more about your story.
Yeah. So, hi, everyone. I'm so grateful to be here today. Thanks so much for having me, Brandy. I am Jacki Mjoen. I am a 7th grade math teacher. This is my 7th year teaching 7th grade math, and I teach at the school that I graduated from. So it's a whole lot of fun every day as I work in my time capsule of middle school memories. I get to engage with the kids in ways that is unique, just because I walked the same halls that they walked and didn't sit at the same desks because, of course, our furniture is way cooler now. But I love working at the school that I graduated from, and specifically working with middle schoolers. I think they just bring a vibrancy and an authenticity to the world. And I just love empowering them in that because I think we just need more of that in our world. So that's what I do. And I was also diagnosed with stage 2 brain cancer 2 years ago. So that has pulled me out of my classroom and allowed me to find purpose in different ways. But that's been a hard battle. And I've had to really wrestle with a lot of feels and emotions in the middle of that. But I really wanted to go into education just because I left 8th grade feeling like I should come back. There was just something placed in my heart that I knew I was meant to be with middle schoolers and hang out with them and teach them math. And so that's kind of what I've been up to and where my journey's at.
Yeah, that's an amazing journey. And I love that you're back in your home school teaching those middle schoolers. And I started out as a school social worker, and I was pre-K-12, but then I had an opportunity to go to the middle school. And I remember my principal that invited me to come be the counselor at the middle school in Effingham. He said to me, I want to warn you, when you work with middle school kids, you kind of start acting like them. Do you think that's true, Jacki?
Yes, I really think that's true. We honestly have to be a little weird in order to work with middle schoolers. Like, you just have to own it and rock it. And I'm all about the spirit days, and I'm all about the new things that they're learning on TikTok and social media. They're keeping me current. Like, they're just the coolest squad. Yeah, you do have to join them, because if you don't, then they end up driving you a little crazy.
I love that. And that piece of wisdom is going to stick with me forever. But I love middle school as well. I would say that is the age group that I would say is my favorite, definitely, hands down. Yeah. So as a brain cancer fighter, you have to have hope. You have to have optimism, a positive mindset. And as you probably know, my book is in the editing phase, and it will be coming soon. It is called Lead with Hope. And I created the framework for hope that stands for habits, optimistic outlook, passion, purpose and perseverance, and excellence. And I'm curious, Jacki, which one of those letters resonate most with you and why?
Yeah. First of all, I love that framework for hope. I think that's amazing. And those are such strong words, and each word has such a unique just perspective that you could take on. And the one that really resonated with me was purpose and perseverance. And I think teachers and educators just in general have really a strong sense of purpose. We go into the field, not for the money, not for, right. It's for the kids. Right. And so we find purpose there. And then we have to have perseverance and grit through all of the things, the education world changing. And we have to stay open and persevere through different trials, either that be with students, parents, whatever, like new things that the school is adopting. Like we just have to keep having a positive outlook and persevere. And I think then that also played an impact in my cancer story. I found purpose in my classroom. And I knew I was meant to teach like since I was an 8th grade student, but then getting the cancer diagnosis, I was a little lost. I got pulled out of my classroom for my brain cancer treatment. And I was like twiddling my thumbs at home when I was not actually in the treatment. And I was like, what do I like this time has to be purposeful somehow. Like I'm not just going to sit and waste my cancer treatment because there's purpose here for me. So what is that? So I found myself writing and writing some more. And the purpose kind of just came out in the writing, and I was just writing my story, and I was wrestling with the physical pain, the emotional pain of cancer, feeling isolated from like my people and my world, like just battling cancer in my house. And so I think that is the two words that really resonate with me the most is the purpose and perseverance, because they can be found anywhere. You can find them in your job. You can find them in a life battle. You can find them in an exciting thing that you're doing. Like purpose and perseverance is found in anything. And I think it's cool that it's not just the job that we show up in. We can have purpose and perseverance in anything that we do in life.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And, I think that you find what you look for. You grow what you focus on. And if you focus on the negative and you wallow in that, you're going to amplify that. Why not amplify hope instead? Why not amplify purpose and passion and perseverance? And that is exactly what you did. And when you think back to your classroom or your school, depending on what the group of people that you do life with in that organization, what they focus on, you kind of get to experience the byproduct of that, right? Yes. That's why we have healthy cultures in our schools, and we have less healthy cultures and even toxic cultures. So do you mind talking to me a little bit about the culture that you teach and learn in?
Yeah. So I, especially in my cancer journey, there was a huge group of people that just surrounded me. It wasn't just my students, but it was the staff and everybody reaching out. And so I just really felt the warm embrace of the culture at my school. And I think the culture that I set up in my classroom is just a come as you are culture. And that was really put to the test when I was diagnosed with cancer, just because I tell the kids that when they walk in that you're a person before I expect you to do math. So like you matter in here, and your emotions matter, and your mental health matters, and you are invited to come as you are, whether you didn't eat breakfast this morning or you had a fight with your parents the night before, like you can show up as you are. And so that was really put to the test when then I had my cancer diagnosis, and then I was continually showing up for the kids teaching, but I just felt inauthentic to myself because I was like, I have this battle going on and you guys don't know about it, and I'm putting a face on, and I don't expect you to put a face on. And so I was kind of forced to be like, hey guys, this is kind of what I'm battling right now, and I need you all to know that. Yes. And they just so embraced me, just as I embrace them as they come in my room like a hot mess. And it was just a really sweet culture to set up in my room to lay the foundation for me to have a hard thing to walk through as well. Because I am also a person in that room, and I need to acknowledge that, like, hey, what I'm going through outside of this room will also impact how I show up in the room. So I need to make space for that just as much as I make space for you guys. So it's kind of a cool culture to have in my classroom. Yeah.
That is amazing, Jackie. And I think about that group of seventh graders. I mean, what a special place they will forever hold in your heart.
Yeah. Yeah. They were my champions. Like I needed them more than they needed me on most days. So,
And I say that all the time. I mean, kids teach us, they give us so much more than we give them. We pour into them, but they also pour into us and they change us forever. And so that's a powerful story. I love that. And that bonding experience and the fact that you can do this in your home community with, in the same school that you went through. So now as you are navigating those challenges, Jackie, kind of where are you in your journey?
Yeah. So I have finished brain cancer treatment. I went through radiation, egg retrieval, and then chemotherapy. And I had 12 rounds of chemotherapy to get through. So I finished all of the cancer treatment. And now I'm back in my classroom teaching full time with the kids that I love and the educators that I love to be around. And my tumor is stable. So the doctor is really pleased with the results. It's actually, with each MRI, it continues to shrink. So I am super grateful for that. And I'm just doing life with cancer now. And every MRI is an invitation to lay on that table and go, okay, this is the in-between of what I currently know and what I'm about to find out. And the invitation of the MRI is that I actually don't have control. And I am not just a teacher. That is not my full identity. I am also a brain cancer warrior, a daughter, a wife, like all these other things that are important as well, just beyond my classroom. So it's an invitation to stay curious as I keep navigating this journey of cancer and teaching.
Yeah. And I love the fact that you used writing as a cathartic release during this whole process.
Yeah.
I think writing is a powerful tool that we can get all of our thoughts and our ideas and our emotions out on paper and then go back and read through that again and process that and increase that level of self-awareness. So as you were doing that, have you went back and read what you wrote yet?
Yeah, I've dabbled in it a little bit just because I have 78 pages written. And so I know that this is supposed to turn into a book somewhere, somehow. And I'm trying to see the through line through all my journal entries. I mean, that's basically how I was writing is I would feel prompted to write and I would sit and I would just soul dump onto the paper. And so I've dabbled in going back and rereading, but it's hard with that just because I'm having to relive the hard story that I walked. And it's kind of like, now that I'm done with the treatment, it's like, well, been there, done that, moving on, so I have to stay open to like opening up the box of emotions again and looking at it from now a different perspective of how do I communicate this thoroughly in a book and put it into the hands of somebody that needs to read it. So yeah, it's slow, but I'm taking my time.
And that's perfectly fine because it's about the process, right? It's about the process, and the process, the product of the book will no doubt touch many, many, many people. But in the process, you're doing this for you too. Yeah. You're doing this to heal, to overcome, to persevere. And that's a powerful story that you're able to share with the world when you're ready, right?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
So with that, the Lead with Hope framework is an intentional practice of self-reflection to increase self-awareness and self-efficacy. So when you look at it through that lens, your self-awareness, your self-efficacy, do you think that it has brought that about in you, going back and reading those pages again?
Yeah, I could say that the self-awareness is huge, especially the moment that I knew I had to leave my classroom and the weight at which I was fighting against that. Like, it was like cancer couldn't even convince me that I needed to leave my room. Because I was so attached to my classroom and almost that my purpose was found in my classroom and my identity was found in my classroom. So it really made me become self-aware that, holy cow, I am an overfunctioning educator who really is just striving so hard, and she gets hit with cancer and she doesn't even want to leave. Like, what is that telling me? Where am I putting my identity, my purpose in? And so it really made me become self-aware and reflective of, okay, I need to take a pause and
Mhm.
actually sit down and start processing all this and writing it out. So it has really made me become more self-aware for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome. And they talk about habits, in order to make behavioral changes, you have to change what you're doing every day. You have to change the habits that you live out. If you want to be a runner, maybe you should put your shoes by your bed, so
Mm.
you get up and you can take that first step out the door in the morning. Has that level of self awareness changed any of the habits of your day to day life?
Yes, I feel like it really has. I know, in education, people talk all the time of like, self-care, self-care,
Mhm.
self-care. And I knew that was important in my brain, but my heart didn't understand that just because I was so attached to making sure my lessons were perfect and right, like my students were engaged and like all this stuff. And cancer hit, and then I kind of got stripped of all that stuff. And so it was like, well, now how am I putting myself first in post cancer treatment? And so I'm intentionally leaving work on time, not staying past, my contract hours, and being okay with whatever lesson is planned for tomorrow and putting my mental health first. I'm going to the gym more and putting my physical health first. And that has really helped, I think, just the way I'm now showing up in my classroom, just because I'm making space for me after school hours.
Yeah. And do you think your kids have noticed any
Yeah,
change?
I think so. I think I just don't come off as heavy in the room just because I'm not carrying a million and two things when I walk in, just
Right.
because I'm like leaving those, when I leave work, and whatever's not done is okay. And I think it does release me from having the weight of the world on me. And I
Yeah.
think, of course, my kids can pick up on that. I mean, they can see right through anything. They're so intuitive. So,
They are.
yeah.
Yeah. Middle school, junior high students, they
Yeah.
can call you out in a heartbeat,
Hmm.
and they will. And they
Yes.
absolutely will. So that's powerful stuff, Jackie. Now, as far as a project that you have going on, something that you're passionate about, what's in the works?
Yeah, I mean, I'm writing. I think that's my
Mhm.
big thing
Yeah.
right now. I, have these 78 pages, and so now it's going back and rereading and finding my target audience. I thought it was going to be for educators. I thought it was going to be a book for educators. Maybe it's not.
Right.
There's a whole lot of other things that I was wrestling with. So, what's the target audience? What's that? So, I
Yeah.
think that's the big project now in the middle of my life, as I'm now living life like back to normal life, right? Like with cancer,
Mhm.
and also being an educator. And so that's kind of the big project. But I'm always looking for new ways to stay current in education and keep my kids engaged. And so being connected to the Teach Better team is amazing. And just keeping up with social media, what's changing out there, finding professional development outside the my
Mhm.
building is huge, just because there's so much out there available to us now
Right.
to make sure our kids are getting what they need. So
Mhm.
yeah, those are like the two big things. Yeah.
That's awesome. Now, with the book, you said you're kind of trying to figure out what your target audience is. Do you have an idea of the message you want to tell yet, or is that still in process?
I think it's still in process. I mean, the big thing that I keep circling around is it's not over until it's good, even if good doesn't look good to us.
Mhm.
And also like just the come as you are theme. I mean, that's a theme in my classroom. That's a motto I was taking into my cancer journey. So it's still in process, but those are like the two things that I keep kind of circling around.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Now, the theme that I'm kind of picking up through this interview is,
Yeah.
we've talked about authenticity. We've talked about that sense of belonging and having a healthy classroom culture. Um, for the educators that are listening
Yeah.
today, what guidance would you give them on fostering that culture of belonging? Because let's face it, we all want that. I don't care if you're
Mhm.
an adult or a kid. We all want to feel like we belong and that somebody has our back, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I think the biggest thing is you can't control the kids, right?
Mm-hmm.
So focus on what you can control. And you can control yourself to some degree, like, sometimes, but we can control ourselves. And so I think it's staying curious towards your triggers in the room and pressing into those. Where are you feeling frustrated? That is a pinnacle point of kind of an open door for change, like changing something, either the way you do something in your classroom or the way that you engage with the student. And the best advice I could give, not that I have much advice to give, but I would say stay curious towards your kids too, because there's a bigger story at play. The kid who can't sit still, the kid who needs to go to the bathroom all the time, the kid who is drawing constantly and not taking notes thoroughly. There's always a deeper story there. So that's the invitation to stay curious. And I find that if I stay curious, I'm triggered less because they're not quote unquote listening or doing what I'm instructing, but there's a deeper story going on there. And so to create a classroom of belonging, it's asking more questions rather than assuming you know what's actually going on. So to ask more questions to our students rather than condemning or shaming with the behavior that we see or whatever they're providing us in that moment in time. Yeah.
That's perfectly said. And, it goes back to assuming positive intent. What we focus on, we grow. And if we think somebody is, if we assign them nefarious intent, then obviously that's what we find. If we assign positive intent, we stay curious.
Yeah.
We focus on our kids. I think that is the most important thing that you said there, is just focusing on our kids, talking to them, being curious, getting to know their story, because let's face it, we all have a story. I don't care who you're talking about. We all have a story. And Jacki, if you can let go of that control piece, all that you've got going on, because I don't know about you, but for me, whenever I feel like things are out of control, I have a tendency to hold on tighter.
Yeah.
And so finding those ways to release, whether that's through writing or meditation or gratitude walks or whatever, changing the habits in our lives so that we have that optimistic outlook and we can persist with passion and purpose and perseverance. You are an excellent example of that. And I appreciate you coming on today and telling your story.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been so much fun to share.
Now, Jacki, people are going to want to get in contact with you and they're going to want to follow you, because when that book comes out, they're going to want to read that. So how would they get in touch with you following this podcast?
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram. You can find me if you just type in JACKIMJOEN, Jacki Mjoen. But I'm also under Mjoen Middle. So that's my teacher Instagram account that you can follow me there. And then I'm also on X and Twitter, whatever it is now, as Jacki Mjoen as well. And I'm on Facebook as Jacki Mjoen. So you can find me in all those spaces.
Awesome. Well, Jacki, I know I will be following your journey. You are truly inspiring. You're a beacon of hope, and I appreciate you coming on today. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Brandy. It's been awesome.
This podcast is a proud member of the Teach Better Podcast Network. Better today, better tomorrow, and the podcast to get you there. Explore more podcasts at teachbetter.com/podcasts, and we'll see you at the next episode.